And so I went on to Australia, Diomede went on to New Zealand. You know, after that Asia trip, I came back to America for a year. So I was gone 3.5 years on that trip.
Wow.
And things were getting quite, you know, I was, learning all of these things. And then in India, we dove deep into the Bhagavad Gita. And as you study more religions and read about them, you sort of realize, wow, we're all going back to the same root, or up to the same root, or, I was realizing that no matter, how the media or other people want to make believe this world is so different. Sure, the magic is the cultures, the different religions, and the different dress, but you know what? Deep down, when that Muslim woman loses a child, she's sad. When that happens and something happens in Palestine or Israel, everyone is just as sad as they are when something happens on the streets of New York, but we're grown up to say, oh no, it's different for them, no, they really, their children, they can lose them like that. It's like, no, and that's when I was, I've come back from a Muslim country, and all of a sudden we'd be at war, and they'd say, oh yeah, but they have suicide bombers. It's like, well, these are kids taken from the poor of the poor. These are orphans taken off the street and brainwashed. But they're kids, and they grow up into these mean adults. And you can see sometimes I come back after 3.5 years or 2.5 years of now as an adult, and you can see how sometimes newspapers have brainwashed some of my friends to think, oh, it's a fearful world, or what do you do out there about terrorism? And because I can't understand the French papers, I don't read them, so I don't even know. And our village, we don't really focus on that. So I just go, oh, is there still terrorism? Planet here is one interconnected, magical, wonderful planet, and these synchronous things are happening to me. I'm not anyone special. I'm still this guy from the Bronx who, I have my faults. I'm not the most patient dad every minute of the day, and I'm not Mother Teresa, but I try to live from the heart, and I try to be good, and I think that everyone involved can have that. We can have that magic.
That's what Mother Teresa says, right? She's Sister Teresa, Mother Teresa, she says, right? Just do small things with great love. So whatever you do it with great love.
Yeah, Gandhi.
Right?
Be the change you want to be.
Right.
Be the change you want to see in the world.
Right. Do it yourself.
And that's, that those give me goosebumps, because that's, I think the essence that I hope, I'm not decrying technology in any way, but again, these travels and this book, I think, is a nice throwback, because it's before the internet and it's before mobile phones. And I was, I had to get through my stuff. I couldn't email a friend that night from northern India and going, oh man, I'm going crazy, what do you think I should do? I had to deal with it. I had to write in my journals, and those journals turned into this. And
which I think is a big problem for kids today in college, right? Because they can call their mother every 5 minutes. This is my problem, my problem, my problem.
Or they could text her from their classroom. And, it's just, and that's what I'm saying. I hope that we're not losing, the next generation isn't losing that, getting in touch with themselves. I'm a New Yorker, of course, and I grew up and I feel so comfortable on the streets of New York. So my soul always felt the wanderlust. And when I landed in Europe the first time on my way back from Asia, I was like, oh, it was Germany actually. I was like, wow.
There you go.
Wow. I just felt like home, and I said, I want to explore this. So I saved up for a year, and I came back, and I spent in about a year and a half cycling, and I walked through northern Africa, and I had a lot of time myself to just go over what was going on in my head, what was going on in my life, where was this path taking me? And I wasn't nervous, Maria. I didn't have a lot of money.
And how far would you cycle every day?
Sometimes 60 Ks, whatever, 40 miles, sometimes 100 miles. Yeah, I'll keep it in miles, but whatever the day we take, the little is 4 miles, as much as 150 miles sometimes. It just depended on where you were, where the villages were, and how many friendly people you saw in the day inviting you in for tea. Or in Turkey, you couldn't get across the village without being invited to tea 3 or 4 times. And I felt the change was coming. Like in Japan, I felt my motorcycle was giving way to a bicycle. I felt there was something changing in my relationship. Sure, I had lived around the world, and I had girlfriends here and there, and my visa would dictate my relationship. Oh, 6-month visa, sorry, no. So maybe I was hiding behind that in a way. But and the last, I call this book, Cycles of a Traveler, and there's 4 different cycles, and they're like 4 different books, and each chapter actually is a different phase. And a lot of people, my reviews and people getting back to me, said, oh yeah, I love it, because every chapter I could put it down and think, oh, that was a great trip, and I reminisce in the trip, and I could pick it up the next day and go, oh, new chapter, new trip, where am I going to be? And the way it's written is like, it's like I'm sitting on like this. It's like I'm sitting there talking to you, and a lot of friends say, oh, it's really great, and people who don't know me, some of the reviews have been, yeah, it's like sitting down with your best friend and recounting a trip, you know, and a lot of people look at the bigness of the book, but a lot of people, because it can be put down and picked up again, you know, and a lot of people say, oh, it's going to be on Kindle, and I go, I like the personality of a book, you know, the cover and everything that goes with the book. So I'm not sure, you know, I'm not trying to be a Luddite and say, no, not going to be on Kindle, but you know, when someone reads that book and sees it there, you know, it's kind of nice. You got the pictures. You refer back to the page,
and then you can pass it on to someone else.
You can pass it on. Then it gets doggy, or you know, I go to friends' houses now who 5, 6 people read it, and it's all doggy, and I just love it. I go, wow, that's my book, and it's been passed around. And when people send me a review and go, ooh, you know, that was inspirational. I really like that. I want to send it to my brother. Can I have another copy? You know, and I just think, wow, that's something. And again, it's not, you know, people might say, oh yeah, it's sort of you know, your story. I go, well, it is, but it's the story of the planet and the Earth and its people in a time that's gone.
And when they hear your story, I'm sure it, you know, comes to mind things that happened to them, and they go, oh, that's right, something like the watch has happened to me.
Right, exactly, and it triggers that magic, and they go, wow, there is magic, you know. And then someone who might be caught up in a too busy lifestyle might say, am I leaving time for that magic? And that's why I sort of wrote it. You know, wrote it to share the stories with my mom for her 80th birthday. That was the initial.
Oh, really?
Yeah, initially we had moved to France, and we left Ireland, and we moved to France, and we had a bit of time. I had a bike shop there. I sold half of it, and I said, Angie, my mom's going to be 80 in 2 years. Maybe I should just get my journal together and just write her my sort of story. And because she always said, oh, you should write a book, and she always, you know, she always said, come on, Joe, travel. Yeah, it's great. I'm going to take advantage of my wandering son. So she visited me in Greece, Japan, Australia, France.
And which my mother traveled through your mother.
Yes, you see.
Oh, Anne's going to see Joey. She's going in, you know.
And we were all affected, right? And your family was affected. We were all affected, and it's a lovely thing. So when I was writing it, I was trying to find a title, and I couldn't. I was coming up with all these weird sort of, oh, Bronx to Brittany, or The Bronx Boy Makes Good. I was like, I said, stop thinking about the title, just write the book. Wrote the book, and the day I put the last period on the last chapter, you know, the unedited, sort of hard, you know, just sort of version, I said to Angie, I said, it's done, Angie. Great. Went to sleep that night. In the middle of the night, I woke up. Ding. Cycles of a Traveler, True Voyage of Discovery and Synchronicity. In my head, I wrote it down. You know, had my nature call. Next morning, you know, sloppy hand, you know, sleepy hand. I saw it. Cycles of a Traveler, True Tales of Voyage, Discovery, and Synchronicity staring at me, and I said, wow, that's a nice title. Plus the cycles, you know, we all have these 7-year cycles where our bodies change, and the motorcycle gave way to the bicycle, and the cycles, and it was just
the cycles of life,
and the cycles of life, and everything, and people just love the title, and it goes round, and the tie-in with the bicycles, and you know, there's a lot about bicycles in here, but it doesn't take over. It's more about the people, the life, and the actually the synchronous moments, and how we're more alike than we're this similar. And that, what I think has become the magic of this book, is everyone's coming back to me saying that.